Hey everybody, welcome back to the VHS Doom podcast and rental store. It's me, Dylan. I just wanted to take a quick second to thank you all for being here, but I also wanted to let you know that during this episode we did run into a few technical issues and connectivity issues. We have an amazing interview ahead with Tom Devlin for you guys today, but we just wanted to give you a heads up. You might hear a little bit of audio cutting in and out. We did our best to edit around that, but sometimes it happens. We did want to make sure that you guys heard this. It is an amazing interview, and Tom is an amazing person. So we hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you on the other side. Peace.
Who wants some? Who's next? Huh? How about it? Who wants some?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hello, and welcome back to the VHS Doom podcast and rental store. I'm your host, Dylan Crutcher, and we're so glad that you guys are joining us again for another dive into the shelves of madness. We hope you enjoyed our last episode where we did a deep dive into House from 1985. It was a good time, and unfortunately, Mikey's still here, but he got killed by the giant Bibbles monster from the closet. So he's back, though. He's back, so that's good. We truly appreciate all of you who have been supporting us along our journey. And if you're joining us for the first time, we're so glad that you guys are here. As always, again, I'm joined by my ever nefarious, dastardly, can-cracking, and always awesome co-host, Mikey Mutant. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, guys? I'm good.
I know. We've been hanging out for a few hours already today, so I feel like I know how you're doing, but the timeline gets weird, man. So this week we have a really, really special and cool episode in store for you guys. We are joined by a legend, I think, in the effects world of horror. Tom Devlin is in the store with us today, so very, very cool. We're glad to have you here, and I'm so glad that this worked out. I do think it's important that we skip all of our usual pandering. Usually I'm begging everybody to follow, like, subscribe, join our Patreon, da-da-da-da-da. We're not doing that because I want to make sure that we highlight and spotlight Tom's work. So, Tom, thank you so much for being here with us today. How are you doing, man?
Well, thank you guys for having me, and I am doing great. Things are awesome, and I'm a fan of old VHS horror, and I absolutely love the movie House. As
Nice.
Wiley, who wrote it.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Oh, it was such a good time. It was a first watch for me last week. So our show setup is interesting. We so the premise is we're a VHS rental store. That's why all these tapes are all around me. But the show started because Mikey and I just kind of wanted to hang out more. A decade ago, we used to live closer and we could do movie nights, and he would introduce me to all these different horror titles. Mikey's collection is probably like 5,000
I think so.
titles at this point. Yeah. So I was a cinephile of all sorts of cinema, and Mikey is like, well, now you're going to be into 70s Italian obscure horror. And I'm like, okay, I'm down with that now. So that's kind of where the show's gone, and that's where we're at now. But yeah, we've started over the course of the last year doing more spotlights for creators. We talked with just recently with Buddy Cooper, the director of The Mutilator from 1984, who's now put out The Mutilator 2. He's running with that project. We talked with a group that did a film called Vampire. But when Bearded Villain, who is also named Mike, is our videographer, reached out to, I think, your assistant, and you guys were like, yeah, well, come on. We were so excited. So we are so happy you're here, man, for sure.
Like-minded people. I mean, the thing is with the podcast, especially ones like yours, it's a direct line to my prospective audience. The
Yeah.
people that like what I like are going to listen to. There's no way that I will turn down a podcast called VHS.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you like the name. Oh yeah, for sure. We're glad you're here. So I guess we can just kind of dive right in. I know Mikey, you have quite a few questions. I have
Mhm.
quite a few questions, but so we've done a few director spotlights, and I know you are directing films now. And one of the things that we always like to learn about is how people found their way into film and how they found their way into the love for film. So growing up, were you a fan of cinema? But what sort of films were you drawn to as a kid?
I mean, I've always since the beginning of time I was a fan of movies. Of course, early on it was Goonies, Short Circuit, Batteries Not Included. I absolutely loved Monster Squad's my favorite
Mm,
movie. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie, like you name it. I know every word to all of those films, and
nice.
Oh
you know
yeah.
I wasn't really allowed to watch horror films in my house, not because my parents are religious or like conservative. They just were trying to be parents.
Mm,
So the horror film became like don't press the red button. It was
mm,
like the Playboy magazine under the bed.
mm,
So I I became obsessed with sneaking horror movies at a very young age,
yeah,
probably like 12. Before that, at 10, 11, I would sneak Child's Play and Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff.
nice.
I felt so scandalous, and it was really that made me love it so much.
That's amazing. Yeah, we actually not last week, the week before, we covered video violence. So we there's another podcast that we're pretty close with called Mutant City Horror. They're based out of California, and they actually introduced us to Buddy Cooper. But we had them on for what we call a roundtable episode. We covered video violence, and in that episode, we were discussing the inspiration behind that film was like a person who walked into a video rental store and said, what were they asking about? Was it blood?
Blood cult.
Blood cult. That was it. Does this have any nudity? No, just violence. That's okay, right? So it's funny. I feel like Alan from their show had a similar experience. Well, with the violence, it's okay, but if there's a boob in there, I'm gonna get
Uh,
in trouble.
yeah.
That's funny. So that's awesome that you were a fan from a young age. So I guess what led you towards creating the effects stuff?
So, to quote my wife, the only thing that makes a real artist is the undying need to create.
I like
Um,
that.
there's two types of artists. There's a learned artist and a naturally gifted artist. We all know those people that came out of the womb and they can draw and
Mm-hmm.
sculpt and just create without effort.
Mhm.
And I am not that. I am a very trained artist and I worked very, very hard at my craft.
Mm-hmm.
I was not naturally gifted, but early on, I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to. I was real into the '90s X-Men comics and Ghost Rider, and uh, I loved Swamp Thing from DC, and
Mm-hmm.
um, but I didn't like the repetitiveness. Like I tried to make my own comic. Like I said, not naturally gifted as an artist, but I practiced very hard. I didn't like drawing the same characters over and over again
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like they never looked the same or I wasn't. There's a perfectionism too. Like you want it to be the best. I want to be the best. And then at a very young age, I was introduced as an artist, as an art student in like I think it was ninth grade or yeah, probably ninth grade,
Mm-hmm.
uh, 10th maybe. I think ninth. Um, I lived in a town called East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, on the East
Oh,
Coast,
okay.
and that's the home of Frank Frazetta, who's one of the most
Oh
famous
yeah.
fantasy artists of all. Created Conan the Barbarian, Heavy Metal Magazine, all of Danzig's cover art. So his son owns a store called Frazetta's Fantasy Corner, and I got to go over there with my art class and look at Frank Frazetta's sketchbooks from when he
Mm-hmm.
was young. While I was there, Bill Frazetta kind of this store was a Halloween shop that just lit my endorphins on fire. All my favorite characters are in there, and the masks were so cool. And I never knew my love. I loved Halloween always as a kid, but I
Yeah.
didn't at like 14. I realized somebody made those. Like I didn't understand that before that.
Yeah.
So I book by Tom Savini. Most effects artists have it. It's called Grand Illusions and Grand Illusions 2. And those books changed my life at 14, 15 years old. I just decided at that point that I wasn't going to be an illustrator. I wanted to make physical monsters and physical things. I was really into He-Man and like Ninja Turtles and anything weird and mutiny. But yes, so the link at Frazetta's is kind of what got me the idea. And then I'm from Pennsylvania, and although Pittsburgh's a far way away from where I grew up, knowing that Tom Savini started his career and ended his career in Pennsylvania was a really cool, like, oh, I don't have to be in Hollywood to make monsters. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
learning about George Romero and the stuff that he did, locally, and
Yeah.
how I was very much a punk rock kid. Like those guys
Mhm.
never sold out. They never went union. They never got an
Mhm.
Academy Award, but they created some of the greatest horror films of all time. You know, and
Yeah.
so dropped out of high school, moved to California, got a job on Xbox,
Yeah.
like, biggest show in the world. And from there, I had several huge movies like Scorpion King, Double Red Dragon, um,
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 3. And but I never wanted to be a part of that small cog of the giant studio system. So in
Yeah.
2002, I started my own effects shop, which is called 1313 Effects. Still
Uh-huh.
running today, like 25 years or 20, whatever, 20, 2002 to now.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and that segued into directing in the
Mm-hmm.
weirdest way. I never in my life wanted to be a director. Like that was not my. I wanted to be a monster maker, and
Yeah.
I became a monster maker. And I worked with all my heroes, and I checked off everything on my list. And then at a point about 2 years ago, I wanted to make this movie. My wife is a director. She's
Okay.
directed 3 feature films, actually four, but one she never finished. Um, and I called her and I said, I made this character 10 years ago at that point on a TV show called Face Off. It's a reality show. And it was called Teddy Told Me To. It's a slasher killer. And I asked her to direct the movie, and I'm going to produce it, and we're going to make a movie, and we're going to get back in the game because we haven't made a movie in quite a while.
Yeah.
And that was a meeting point because on day one of directing Teddy Told Me To, I knew that was the rest of my create and direct.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, so I watched coming in preparing for this. I watched Teddy Told Me To, and that is a really fun movie. I said this exact line when we were talking to Buddy Cooper, right? Because The Mutilator was just like a great movie for a first like directorial
Sure.
debut, right? Teddy Told Me To was really good. Like I was really, really impressed. So I think I had read a line by Tarantino. It was like, well, if you're a fan of film, you just love film, you can't help but make a good movie. And that's kind of what he thinks he did. Right. And I'm going to tell you, I really love that movie. So,
I
um,
appreciate it. And
yeah.
really what he's saying too is like we make the movie we want to watch,
Uh-huh.
So you've learned from other people's mistakes and other people's successes, and you beg, borrow, and steal and put something together. As long as it's entertaining, not boring. Teddy is nowhere near perfect, and it is a first film, but it worked. It's done. It worked. It was
Yeah.
great. I got so many people I admire in the movie. So
Uh-huh.
many people came to help with the movie,
Yeah.
but that uh, I've directed 6 films
Oh,
in two
really?
2 years. I've directed 7 movies, so they're not all available yet, but
Okay.
some of them are, and I learned so much on every one of them.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. I could tell. So, well, first of all, I gave a quick little like, you guys need to go fucking watch this on our last episode that Teddy told me to, because the effects work was killer. Obviously, I mean, that's what you do, right? But like, there was so much of it jam packed in there that was just so good. I was like, holy shit. Holy shit. It was over and over, which is really cool. So, in that film, did you create a lot of the effects work yourself? Do you have a team that you've trained up to do this? Like, are you passing this knowledge on to the next generation? What's that look like in your process now?
I do have a really solid team, but it's small. It's like 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, actually about 4 of us, but on that film, it was my buddy Waleed Atchi and Chris Arredondo, who
Mm.
also played Chippy in the movie. Uh, they, I designed all the effects, I made all the effects in pre-production, and
Mhm.
then they helped me pull it off. And some of it, I was pulling it off. I'm camera guys rolling, I'm doing the effects, asking if it looks like wearing a million hats at the same time. You
Yeah. And you got killed. You got killed by a shovel, didn't you? I think I saw
know?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Very, very cool. The soundtrack too is really solid. I saw his original soundtrack, but I think it was later on in the film. I'm just, watching along, and then I hear somebody start singing, "Everybody's haunted for the weekend," and I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is awesome."
Little that was one of those let's cross our fingers and hope we don't get sued moments. But it worked. It worked, and it was good. And then what gets overlooked sometimes is the score to that movie is
Mm,
phenomenal, and it
mm.
was done by John Mazzari, who scored Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And
Nice.
he was there at I own a monster museum in Boulder City, and he was there signing, and he saw us shooting at night afterwards, and he's like, he just felt the energy of how much fun we were having, and he offered his services for a favor, basically, and
Wow.
man, it amplified the quality of the movie.
That's so
Yeah,
awesome.
it was really, really good. Yeah. Mikey, I'm sorry, but I feel like I'm hogging all the questions because I
good.
get too excited. What do you got? What are some of your questions right now?
I want to know what it was like working with Charles Band.
So Charles Band is like a childhood hero.
Mine too.
I grew up in a time before YouTube and before a lot of internet source. So in order to figure out how to do makeup effects in Pennsylvania when I was a kid, I would watch the Video Zone in the back.
Oh yeah.
At the end, most people that don't have VHS and have not like lived with Full Moon through the 90s like I did. At the end of the movie, there's special features that's called the Video Zone. It shows the process of filmmaking, the process of merchandising, everything that Full Moon does. And it's not really like a Full Moon like commercial, but it is legitimate like documentary style special features of making ofs. And this is before DVD, so it had never been done before.
Yeah.
And it's on every movie. Every single movie had a cool making of, and it might be a making of the last movie because they're on film and they're still shooting or whatever. But so I grew up a Full Moon kid, Full Moon and Troma all the way. That was my career
Same here.
goals.
I think Dylan also.
Yeah.
I'm in Hollywood, and I ended up working on this big stuff right out the gate. It was never my goal. My goal was to work on Toxic Avenger and Puppet Master. So I started with Charlie on a movie called Killjoy 3, shot it in China. And John Lachago directed it. Charlie produced it. I didn't get to meet Charlie much. But right when we got back, he hired me to do a movie called Evil Bong 3, The Wrath of Bong.
Oh my God.
Now, the funny
those
thing
movies are so funny.
So it was like this funny thing because I'm living a childhood dream working on a movie that I was like, oh my God, I hate this movie. But the late great Irwin Keyes was in it, and Irwin Keyes is one of my favorite character actors, and to get to work with him was so phenomenal, and to watch Charlie direct and how patient and smooth, I mean, cool. Like you talk about Charlie as a producer, if you look up slimy producer in the dictionary, you got Charles Band, right? Like begging from here to pay Paul, and we can do this and blah 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 blah. He's a shyster. By reputation, I don't take it in a negative way. I'm not calling him a jerk. But when he's a director, oh my gosh, he's the most smooth captain of the ship. Something doesn't work, okay, no problem. We're gonna do this. He's a problem solver, not a problem haver. And to sit there and watch him grab a red vine from his chair, tear 3 pages out of the script, and we move on. And never lose his temper, never get mad. There's never disappointment in his voice. He makes everybody feel. We call it going to band camp because you see all your friends once in a while and make a really fun movie. Like 4 feature films with him or something like that. I don't know if that's accurate, but and I think my time Full Moon is probably over at this point. I would direct for them if they asked. possibly, but I'm not really interested in doing effects for Full Moon right now, and that's not for any reason than post production to Ohio. I've built my own empire here. My goal is to Charles Band, not to work. Kind of like with the effects world, how I didn't want to work for the guy, I wanted to be the guy. I feel that way about directing and producing now too. But Charlie's a lifelong hero. He's also he has given my family and friends, my oldest friend to hunt down puppet master with me and stuff. One time, Charlie took my crew out to lunch or out to dinner in St. Louis, and he told us all these stories. I mean, he knew he had a audience, and he was giving them memories for the rest of their life.
That's so awesome.
That's amazing.
I know you're talking about how you loved Puppet Master. Which puppet's your favorite one?
Oh, Pinhead. Pinhead is my spirit animal.
You know, it's funny. I showed my my son. I showed him the first movie, and his favorite one is Pinhead too.
Pinhead's awesome. Definitely my favorite puppet. Everybody's like Blade, 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 and I like Blade too. But I am a Pinhead guy first and foremost. Another cool thing about the you know, I didn't do Puppet Master right away. I did a ton of kind of bullshit Full Moon movies, Killjoy movies, 4 and 5. They were incredible. I love Killjoy. Killjoy is one of my favorite.
Definitely a very interesting and different character than like other kinds of like slasher movies.
Yeah, and Killjoy 4 might be one of my favorite Full Moon movies I ever did. But then right after Killjoy 4, we did Puppet Master Rising. And to get a chance to do the puppets was such a childhood dream, and to like learn how to work them because I'm a makeup artist. I never created animatronic puppets and rod puppets. You know, of course it's in the wheelhouse. So you just say that, and then you figure. But the best part was there's a guy named Leroy Patterson who ran all their behind the scenes stuff, and he brought back the video zone on my first Puppet Master movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
They did an effects artist spotlight on me, like a whole chapter in the video zone. And to me, the video zone is more important than my history with video zone.
I used to love watching those. I still do. I think they're on the Amazon Prime app also for Full Moon.
You had them on the Full Moon streaming service, which I think I carried over to some.
Yeah, because I have the Blu-ray. I just watched Access Rising again last night, so we were getting ready for this interview. I was like really excited.
Access Rising is a fun movie, and it's my first puppet movie. Also, I love like the Ilsa look, and I love all the little nods in there. But I have to say that Blade the Iron Cross, which was the third one I did, it's like a standalone Blade movie. That's probably my favorite of the puppet movies I worked on. And Puppet Master Access Termination was better than Rising because my puppets were better. I had learned from my mistakes, you know.
What was it like learning about like doing the puppet kind of thing compared to like the other kind of makeup effects?
It's just so weird because you have, you know, back in the day, so like the 6-shooter puppet back in the day in part 3 cost $60,000. Our whole movie cost $60,000.
Right.
Like instead of having raised stages and like ease of puppeteering, we're crammed in closets and hiding under a table, like cramped up, trying to make this work. By Axis Term, I started adding a lot more radio control servo. Then in Blade the Iron Cross, it's almost completely radio control.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is very, very cool. So, to take it way back, I don't think I asked you this, but what do you remember? What was the first prop that you made? Do you remember that? I don't know if that's
like when I before film work, or during film work.
No, before, like when you first started testing your hand at
made a leather mask. I made a Procon. Now I probably made like an Ecto or like a Ghostbuster proton pack when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I made this cardboard chainsaw once, and I put a tape recorder in it, and I had recorded my dad using a chainsaw.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
I told the blade it's cardboard, but there's a real motor in it. You know, I was telling everyone that. Yeah. And I was probably in 4th grade, but the first thing that I made, like I'm gonna be an artist, is I made a leather face mask. I have a picture of it. It's real goofy. I made a leather face mask, and I did a Procon video for class about pro cannibalism, and I got
That's awesome. Pro cannibalism. I love it. Cool. So you were kind of saying, you've built your empire out where you are now, and that
We're
in,
working. We're working
yeah.
on it.
Yeah. An empire is an ever growing thing,
Yeah.
right? So, so I know part of that is your monster museum. Can you tell us a little bit about the monster museum, how that came about, what that project was for you, I guess?
The Monster Museum is coming up on its 8-year anniversary in July. Um, it's basically a place where our goal is to preserve the art and history of practical effects in film and cinema.
Okay.
And everything within the museum, aside from a couple items, are I handcrafted. They're one of a kind's work of art. So it's basically a walkthrough from silent film to modern film era.
Okay.
And it encompasses, a lot of people know Boris Karloff played the Frankenstein monster, but not a lot of people know who Jack Pierce is. Jack Pierce created Frankenstein's monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Wolfman, designed Dracula. And we want to share who John Chambers is from Planet of the Apes and the people that created this dying art. It has a little resurgence right now, but the computers and the AI now, and like there's just we're a dying art. And people always tell me, oh, there will always be the indie films that use foam latex. But the problem that people don't realize, it's like Polaroid film. So foam latex is only used for makeup effects.
Okay.
And when K&B and Stan Winston's and Rick Baker's not using foam latex, the independent guy is not going to get it because it's not going to exist because there's there's not the demand that would demand the manufacturing in Guatemala where they make it. So, it's a crazy thing, but we're losing. I thank so much to The Walking Dead and to Orville because without those shows, we might have seen foam latex disappear even quicker.
Wow. Yeah, that's just something you don't think of as a regular viewer, right? Like I know when I watch a film that has practical effects, how much better it looks than a film,
Fun.
I was gonna say, like CGI blood is like really off-putting.
It is.
There's something so tangible about a practical effect, even if it looks goofy. It's tangible. I mean, a lot of people say Troll 2 is the worst movie ever, or whatever, in a cheeky way. But when I was 8 years old, I was terrified of Troll 2. It was freaking horrifying, and that's because they're real. When I watch something like Harry Potter and you see Dobby's not real.
Right.
Even Gollum is not real. And I use the Planet of the Apes as an example because I can sit down and draw or sculpt Cornelius and Zira and Dr. Zaius and recognize them. General Alto, I recognize them. But if you were to tell me to sit down and sculpt or draw one of the newer Planet of the Apes that are digital, like Bright Eyes or Caesar, I don't know what they look like. And I even know that they wear war paint, but I don't know what the war paint looks like because it doesn't register in the same place as your brain as something physical that's photographed.
Yeah, you're right. That is so interesting to think about. Yeah. So that's an amazing thing that you're preserving all of these amazing effects. Artists.
And it's also just kind of a fun roadside attraction.
Sure.
Some people get deep with it and see that like preservation effort, and some people use it as a selfie stop on their way to the Hoover Dam, and that's fun. Like I'm game for all of it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. So, and Teddy told me too, a part of the premise is that you're going through, like a haunted house attraction. Was that filmed in your museum? Kind of. There were a lot of cool props in there.
There was parts of it that were in the museum. Most of Val the Vamp Gal, the girl taking her selfies. That's my awesome wife, Lola.
Oh, okay.
She is, everything with her was shot in the museum. But I have a warehouse next door to the museum that is Plan 10 Pictures kind of home base.
Yeah.
And the outside area we call the bullshit backlot. And pretty much where we shot the whole movie. So it's walking distance to the museum. The museum pays for that building. So yeah, we call it the museum.
Sure. Yeah, no, that was
not open.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was very cool. One of the props that I saw several times, it was very prominent, was the decapitated head on top of the turntable, like the vinyl turntable. That was pretty cool. It just stuck out to
So
me.
that's a
So,
throwback because I made every effect
mm,
in with the help of a couple guys. I worked on every effect on Club Dread,
mm.
and so Club Dread, there's a severed head on a turntable that's spinning. So that was a little bit of a throwback to that.
That's a fun
Okay,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
me and Dylan were just
that was
talking about
Yeah.
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Very, very cool. Mikey, what other questions you got, buddy?
So you said you're a wrestling fan. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers?
Well,
Okay.
I gotta say Gangrel,
Hell yeah.
been one of since the beginning, and the Attitude
Hmm.
Era, and I just made a movie called The After Dark, and he's the lead in
Oh,
it, and
cool.
he just plays,
He'd
man.
be
He's
perfect. I
so
always
good.
thought he'd be perfect for a movie like that, like a horror movie.
30 years he's never been in a feature
That's
film
crazy.
playing. He has a little extra role in Human Centipede 3,
Hmm.
but he's never played a part in a movie. And to have this huge, awesome dude that I've looked up to as the Vampire Warrior for 30 years, he was so like humble and slightly nervous,
Hmm.
and I was just like, man, you don't even have to act. Like you just have to be you. You are fanging and bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but he killed it. Outside of Gangrel, I've always been a Mick Foley fan. He's one of
Hmm.
my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
I love, I like the characters. I like the theatrics. I really love the days of the Junkyard Dog and Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Hmm.
Like I like the colorful characters.
Hmm.
I know sometimes it's like considered a little PG or whatever, but those days were really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's very cool, man. So I was gonna ask because in Teddy told me to, you had Felissa Rose get decapitated in such an epic way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see she's super active on conventions, and I think I saw maybe you and her were at a con together. So
Oh, always,
yeah,
always.
you guys find yourself hanging out a lot, and is that how she got into the project with you?
Well, I've known Felissa since 2005. We
Hmm.
did a movie called Silent Night, Zombie Night
Okay.
together with Lou Temple, Felissa Rose, Vernon Wells. And it's funny because Felissa's two kids are named Tommy and Lola, and I'm Tommy and my wife is Lola. And she
Okay.
had kids after. I always say, I love that you named your kids after me because I was tying her up when Tommy was in her belly. I was tying her up on a movie called Breath of Hate and putting her in a trunk. And I was like, call your baby Tommy. And I will take credit for it. Like, I've my wife.
Yeah.
But no, I've known Felissa for years. We've done 100 film projects together,
Hmm.
and,
Oh wow.
but we do always end up at a convention table next to each other
Yeah.
because we're she's the life of the party.
Yeah.
But when I was doing Teddy Told Me To, I wrote her scene. We wrote and shot her and Trent Haga, who's her kind of counterpart, also a longtime friend. He played Killjoy. He also wrote Dead Girl and 68 Kill. I mean, he's an amazing
Hmm.
film guy. But we go way, way back too. I wrote their part before we ever had a script. I had six
Oh, okay.
pages, and we just shot that probably about 2 months before we started production.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So you had that part in mind for her. That's
Yeah, it
awesome.
was for.
Yeah.
Actually, I wrote that part for years ago in a different movie called Father's Day. But then Troma made a movie called Father's Day
Yeah.
outfit, and so I borrowed that scene and changed the killer. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, that was really cool, man. So, yeah, as you were saying earlier, yesterday was the world premiere of After Dark, which is going to be out in July, right? Is that what you were
Yeah, I
telling us?
believe it's going to stream July 9th on Tubi. I
Tubi.
give or take a couple days. I'm not always sure.
Okay, gotcha. So I tell Tubi every single episode to sponsor this podcast because I talk about them constantly. So once again,
Tubi is the video store of the internet,
it
right?
is.
It definitely is.
You
It
go
definitely
on,
is.
you have your old school films. You've got brand new low budget shit like what I make.
Uh-huh.
You have TV episodics, documentaries. Tubi is the greatest streaming platform out there. And
It is.
when the After Dark comes out, it'll also be on Amazon Prime and
Mhm.
maybe Roku or whatever else it's going to be on.
Yeah.
But I will always promote Tubi because I feel like Tubi supports the independent more than about anybody else and gives it massive exposure.
Yeah.
They'll put our films right on the timeline next to Grey's Anatomy or something. You know what I mean? It really, you don't get that with Netflix or the. So I love Tubi. Tubi's been great for Teddy Told Me To exposure. We did a whole Tubi campaign. When people come to the Monster Museum, I give them Teddy Takes Tubi stickers as a so they can all go home and watch the movie,
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Hey, Tubi, if you guys want a podcast where we talk about the films that you feature, I'm open to it. Let me know. So After Dark will be there. Yeah. Will be the Tubi original VHS too. Now, so the After Dark will be out in July, and then you said you have. Did you say you have 6 more in the works? Was that what
I've
you
done?
said earlier?
I've 7 movies in the last 2 years.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Teddy Told Me To is available and out. Las Vegas Frankenstein is available on the Roku channel.
Okay.
And that's got Daniel Roebuck in it. Noah Hathaway has a little part. Really great soundtrack in that. I love Las Vegas Frankenstein. Steve Hansen plays our monster. And then we have oh gosh. Nameless was just delivered. I don't know when it'll come out, but that was made right after Las Vegas Frankenstein.
Okay.
Slaughter on the Hill, I believe, comes out May 3rd. That'll be on Tubi, I think. That's through another producer, so I'm not really in charge of it.
Okay.
With Nameless. And then we made The After Dark was one of them, and then there's 2 more. Oh, one I'm not really going to mention right now, but it's called, well, I'll say the title is called Laughter Face, but I'm not going to talk about it because I've been keeping it very hush-hush.
Okay.
It's going to be for slasher films. It's something very different, and I think people are going to like it.
Yeah.
And then I also have a movie called Hello, My Name is Gacy that is just finishing up post right now.
Okay. Hello, my name is Casey. I'm writing all these down. That way I can add them to my watch list.
Yeah. You can always check the IMDb for Plan 10 Pictures too. You'll see and the Instagram. We on Instagram for Plan 10 Pictures, we post everything that we're doing and when it's available.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so that's amazing, man. Yeah, I will add these all to my list, and everyone listening, y'all should go add these to your list as well. And as they premiere, I can guarantee you that they're going to end up in your. We send movies home every week to our listeners, so we do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we do 5 films, usually 4 features and 1 family-friendly film. We check them out and check them back in the next week. It's just part of our little shtick, but these are going to end up on that list, I guarantee, and I'm putting them in my notebook. Cool.
I'm just so proud of the After Dark, which premiered last night, and we're still riding the high from the premiere.
Yeah.
That movie was conceptualized in 1998.
Wow.
27 years ago, I wrote the roughest script of that I could. In 2000, I tried to shoot it on a little VHS-C camera and didn't know how to make movies. And then we finally got it done, and it stars Gangrel, who was on the top of the world in 98, in the Attitude Era. It's got Lars Fredrickson from Rancid in his first
film. Oh, wow.
And not just like a blip of a cameo, like he's in the movie. It's great. And he's such a positive force with this project and promoting it because he's got a huge platform, and he believes in what we're doing. It also has a wrestler named Paul London. He was a tag team champion.
Cool.
It's got Sin Bodhi, who was Kazarni in the WWE, but Sin Bodhi in the indie world. And he's one of my best friends and closest buddies, and he's one of the leads. Beautiful girl named Ashley Ballou, who just first-time actress, knocked it so far out of the park. That girl's she's going to be a star that I hope to hitch my whole company to.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't know. The After Dark is so special to me. So
amazing.
I really, there's a trailer online right now, and the movie comes out in May, and I'm going to try to get Blu-rays out with special features loaded before July 9th when it hits streaming.
Okay. Where could we go purchase Blu-rays? Where will they be for sale?
You can get the Blu-rays. Well, I do conventions a lot, so
Okay.
you can get a Plan 10 Blu-ray in a town near you. You know,
Yeah.
I do a convention almost every month in a different place.
Okay.
I make all of Kane Hodder's costumes for his photo ops, so
Nice.
I'm at a lot of the conventions with Kane.
Yeah.
Um, but so we sell them at the convention table, also at the Monster Museum. We have a big Plan 10 kiosk, and
Okay.
then on plan10pictures.com we have all the movies available.
Okay. Awesome. I saw Kane Hodder won. What did he win in New Jersey? It was like
Oh,
Lifetime.
he got a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
That
was
was
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool.
It was sculpted to look like Victor Crowley. We were there.
That's awesome.
I did a Jason Takes Manhattan costume photo op on him that I made. And then VC Dupree, who played Julian or Julius in the movie, who gets his head knocked off, showed
Mhm.
up in costume.
Mm.
And nobody was there, and I was the only one that got a picture with the two of them.
Oh
And I was like,
man.
it was absolutely amazing.
That's awesome. What a cool thing, man. Yeah, we got to Mikey got to meet Kane, and I gave him a really hard time because I won't tell that story.
No, you can tell him. You can tell him.
Yeah.
Or I can tell him.
So we were doing
All
our
right, so
yeah, you go ahead. You go
okay.
ahead.
All right, so I was taking a picture with him. We're sitting down. I was nervous. I accidentally patted him on the thigh as I'm getting up, and like for the whole time after, Dylan's just laughing at me, saying, "You pat Jason Voorhees on the leg."
You patted his thigh, man. That was hilarious. No, Kane seemed so nice, and we got to meet
He
Tony
was so
Todd.
nice.
Tony Todd too. He
He
seemed
was
like
awesome,
such a
too.
nice dude.
I
So.
make Tony Todd's costumes for his photo ops too.
Do you? Nice.
Yeah, those guys are both stellar humans that have stuck.
Mhm.
They both have stuck their neck out for me and really helped me in my career.
Hmm.
And Tony's come out to the Monster Museum and signed. And
Nice.
he's just class act.
That's awesome.
But Kane actually, like, we worked together since around 2004 or 5. We did a movie called Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainsfield together.
I love that movie.
And him and Michael Berryman and Priscilla Barnes. That was so much fun. And since then, we've worked together on and off with small projects, but we started doing these costume photo ops. And just for the last 3 years, we just been on the road together.
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting cast on that Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game at Leatherface. And he insisted that I be there as his guy to help make sure that he stays 100% Gunnar Hansen and doesn't slip out into scary Kane Hodder.
Yeah.
He had me help Posh. I made him some Leatherface masks so they couldn't motion capture with him, but he wanted to see what it was like, the vision restriction and what Gunnar was going through. So he would wear cowboy boots, motion capturing, and we made him a little bit of fat belly. And but like I was on just about every shoot for the Chainsaw game, and it was awesome. I don't do video games. I kind of fight this fight against digital, and then I'm sitting watching my future collapse. But I'm there in the monitor, and it's Gunnar Hansen, and I'm looking at a guy in ping pong balls, and it's like, whoa. But it was pretty intense and fun, you know. And that was all. He didn't need to bring me there. I'm not a video game guy, but he insisted, like, you're a Texas Chainsaw aficionado. You know everything about it. I need you there to make sure that we look official. Ronnie Hobbs, who was directing, is as much or more of a aficionado than I am. But I think that Kane was trying to lighten Ronnie's load by just having me always keeping an eye on him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say I watched. This was a couple months back, but I watched 13 Fanboy, and Kane, delivered some lines in that about like his dad and about his kids, like, and I got an emotional response out of these lines, and I'm like, I'm not used to seeing you like this. Why are you doing this to me? That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's his favorite style of acting too. Like he wants to be in like a straight tearjerker drama. Like he loves.
Yeah, I loved when he did it in the Hatchet movies when he played the father.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man. Cool. Well, Mikey, you got anything to wrap up, man? I don't
know. You probably asked already the other questions I had too. So
Yeah, I know. I was stealing a lot of them. I was hogging them. Well, Tom, I just want to say a huge thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know with the premiere, you said you guys were out late. I appreciate you jumping on anyway and being here. This is an awesome thing for us. Again, Mikey and I started this podcast a year ago so we could hang out more because we live in two different states. We used to have movie nights. We don't now. So now we talk about movies on a podcast. And then a year later, we're getting to talk to awesome people like you in the industry. So that's really, really cool. Thank you for that. Can you tell us where our listeners should go like and support your content or your pages? Where can we find more out about Tom Devlin and all of the projects, your empire that you're building?
Well, first and foremost, plan10pictures.com, Instagram. I don't think we have a Facebook attached yet. We might. I don't really run it, but the Instagram is a straight bloodline. TheMonsterMuseum.com, Instagram, Facebook, very prevalent. And my personal is Tom Devlin 1313 Effects. Sometimes it's movie stuff, sometimes it's wrestling stuff, sometimes it's punk rock stuff, and
Nice.
sometimes it's my kids riding dirt bikes. But
Awesome.
I do answer and respond, and I love talking to everybody. You know, I just want to spread the word. I really want to do what Full Moon did in the 90s and become that home for kind of the misfits that want to when somebody goes to a birthday party and everybody brings Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers, I'm the guy that shows up with Maniac Cop. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I want to give that, when people are going, they're going to watch whatever the current vampire movies, whether it's Underworld or whatever's coming out now.
Yeah.
And I want somebody to bring the After Dark and be like, but have you seen this?
Yes, absolutely. We're all about that. All about that.
Yep.
And Robert Zadar, I mean, come on. It's
Oh, yeah.
Can't go wrong.
right. For sure. Oh man, well that's awesome. So everybody listening, go follow Tom, check out all of his social media accounts. Make sure you support. He's doing amazing things. And like I said, if you guys have not watched Teddy Told Me To yet, even though I recommended it to you last week, if you haven't watched it yet, go check out the amazing practical effects throughout that film. So good. But yeah, man. I don't know if you saw the email, and if you don't have it,
Yeah.
it's all right. Yeah. Do you have the recommendations?
Yes. Sleepaway 2.
All right.
Friday the 13th Part 4.
Okay.
Lost Boys.
Oh yeah.
Monster Squad.
Okay.
And I know that's family friendly, but my family friendly pick is Real Steel.
Oh, I like that one. That's is that Hugh Jackman and his
Yeah.
kid, right? Yeah, Real Steel. That was a
It's not
fun
on.
one.
It's not on VHS, but
Nah.
I'm sure of it.
That's okay. We will record them off of the TV and put them on VHS. That's all right. No worries. Actually, so today the tape I'm playing right now, I picked up like 70 or 80 tapes for like $30 from some random lady on Facebook, and a bunch of them, yeah, it was an amazing find. But a bunch of them are these little like, Scotch brand. I wrote the title on the side, so we were hoping we weren't. What's that?
That's my favorite. It's like fishing.
I know.
Every time I see a home video at a thrift store for $0.25 or $1, I buy it.
Yeah.
Because you never know what you're going to get.
I know. Is it going to be, I don't know, the video of some random fucking late night HBO? You never know. You just never know. It's a lot of fun.
Crazy.
So
one time I took a VHS copy of Terminator from my uncle. And I was homesick. And I played Terminator and fell asleep. And I woke up and it was a straight Star Wars porn. Like after the movie, there's a Star Wars. It was called Sex Wars, and there was like worms and stuff. Weird.
You never know what you find on those tapes, man. That's for sure. But we have fun with it anyway. Well, Tom, thank you so much, buddy. That's the curated list, your rental list this week from Tom Devlin. What a cool fucking thing for us to be able to say. If you are ever up for it, you want to come on the show and talk about a film and do a deep dive, we'd love to have you. You sound like you are not only great at what you do, but we can tell you are such a true fan of all of the stuff that you're talking about. So I know you got a lot of knowledge, and if you ever have time and you want to come on, we'd love to have you back. But that's it, folks. So thank you all for being here. As always, if you want to come on the show yourself, you want to do a roundtable with us, shoot us an email, vhsdoom@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on any of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, any of that. But yeah, thanks for being here, and we're gonna call it done, and I'll hit the little outro. We're all good. Cool.